Hey guys, what's going on? Chika is back, and yes, I'm excited to be back. And yeah, there's some weird stuff going on the continent, right? I mean, there's all this weird stuff happening every now and then. Like it's not, it's just another Tuesday in Africa, really. But this time around, we'll take a story from Uganda, where a very important Ugandan personality has been sentenced to jail for 6 years in the UK for slavery, which is it's wild to imagine in 2025 one African person enslaving another. But yes, we'll talk about that in a moment. If this is your first time here, well, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe to my channel. And if you do have any ideas, anything you want me to talk about, just let me know, okay? And I'll talk about it. So, without any more preamble, let's get straight to the stories. All right, so let's start off with Uganda. And this is a particularly heartbreaking story because the people in this story ought to know better. That's just it. I mean, you would think that when people know better, they would do better, but it applies everywhere else, it would seem, but Africa. And I don't know why. And it breaks my heart that I have to talk about this, but yeah, this is the story. In this story, there are essentially three characters, right? And I'm just going to introduce them to you as I tell you the story. The first of them is 50-year-old Lydia Mugambe. She's a pretty big deal. She's a student studying for her PhD at the University of Oxford in the UK. She is a High Court judge in Uganda and also a tribunal judge with the United Nations. So she's pretty busy. And so if a woman like her decides, hey, I need help with managing my daily life, that's all right. Okay, that's all right. You don't have to do it all yourself. And so if you can get help, well, go get help. But you see, it is not that she sought help that is the problem. It is how she sought help that has now gotten her in trouble with the government of the UK. So here's exactly what she did. She goes out to look for help, and then she reaches out to this man. His name is John Mugewa. He is the second character in the story. Now, John Mugewa is a former deputy high commissioner at the Ugandan embassy in London. Again, he's a pretty big deal, right? So from one big madam to a big boss, there's some camaraderie there. And so she goes to John Mugewa and says, hey, help me facilitate a visa for this young lady who is character number 3 to come to the UK. Now, obviously, we don't know the identity of the lady involved because the court decided to keep her information private. Obviously, to protect her identity and to save her from whatever backlash might come from revealing her identity to the public. Now, Lydia Mugambe goes to John Mugewa and says, hey, help facilitate a visa for this young woman to come to the UK and work for me as a live-in maid. And so what does John do? He goes to file for this visa application. But this is where the story starts to get a little sinister. Instead of telling the truth to the government, because obviously he knew that was not going to fly, he lied about what she was coming to do in the UK in her visa application. So in the application, he tells the UK government that she, the lady in question here, the one who's supposed to come in as a maid, will be working as a private servant at the embassy's private residence in London. So, for all intents and purposes, this lady would be coming to work in London as a government employee, right? And when diplomatic moves like that are made, they are rarely questioned because it is expected that a high functioning officer of the government like that would act in good faith. So they're typically exempted from immigration checks and all of that. Now, what happens next is crazy, but we'll go back to that eventually. But you see, when this woman finally makes it to the UK, obviously by now you know that the story doesn't end well. Lydia pays for her flights to the UK. picks her up from the airport, takes her to the house where she worked as a nanny and a domestic maid for free. She doesn't get paid at all. Well, for free makes it look like she said no. She doesn't get paid. Nothing whatsoever. And I mean, that's forced labor. And I think the word for forced labor is slavery. There are no two ways about it. Forced labor is slavery. And that's how she got convicted of modern day slavery in the UK. Now, you might ask, why would two very highly placed government officials do this? One, because people are weird. There's no other explanation. But also because sometimes in our weirdness, we like to abuse our power. So it turns out that, you see, John Mugenwa has a court case in Uganda where he is the defendant. And if you don't know what that means, it essentially means that somebody has accused John Mugenwa of wrongdoing, and now John Mugenwa has to defend himself in court. So he is the defendant. And Lydia Mugabe, again, I told you, a very highly placed lawyer, a PhD law student at Oxford University in the UK, prestigious university, a tribunal court lawyer at the United Nations, very well renowned internationally, and a high court judge in Uganda. Again, she's goals, right? She's career goals. And so Lydia Mugabe tells John Mugenwa that she will help him with his case back in Uganda if he would help her bring this lady from Uganda to the UK to work for her. Obviously, all of that works. The lady comes to the UK, does the job, but along the line realizes that this is not healthy and nobody should live or work like this in 2025. Well, this happened in 2024, actually. So she calls the authorities and reports the case to the government. And that's when, Lydia gets arrested. I'm going to put here's a video of her getting arrested.
So unfortunately, I'm going to have to now arrest you on suspicion of keeping somebody in slavery and servitude under the Modern Slavery Act. So you don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned, something which later on in court,
Officer,
anything you do say may be used as evidence. All right. Sorry?
I am a judge in my country. I even have immunity. I am not a criminal.
You've got immunity in this country?
Yes. I have a diplomatic passport.
You're a diplomat?
Yes.
So we'll need to see that then.
Yes.
And then we'll need to speak to the embassy if you are a diplomat.
I came here as a student. I don't need her to work for me. I didn't come with her. She asked me because she has worked at my home before. She asked me.
It's just crazy what people will do to their fellow humans. Well, when the case got to the courts, look, Lydia tried to plead, as Mrs. Mugabe here, she tried to plead and say that, she treated her help with love and care and patience, but the court does not buy that. And so she ends up getting jailed for 6 years and 4 months for forcing a woman to work as a domestic slave. And I think justice has been served, really. But, that's just me. Let me know how you're feeling about this in the comment section. Share your thoughts with me, because it's crazy. This whole case reminds me of something that happened with a Nigerian politician, Senator Ike Ekweremadu. He's also currently serving jail time in the UK. In fact, he was jailed alongside his wife. I think the wife has been released now, but he's still in jail. And Senator Ike Ekweremadu was arrested and jailed for bringing a less fortunate man from Nigeria to the UK with plans of harvesting his organ to give to his daughter, who was desperately in need of a new kidney. She needed a kidney transplant, and she couldn't wait she couldn't wait on the wait list for as long as they needed her to wait. And so they tried to fast track the process. On one hand, I get it. A father wanting to do something great for the daughter, you want to save your daughter's life. But on the other hand, this is a man who, according to court documents, was lied to and was poorly compensated, but just essentially, he was taken advantage of. There was this power dynamics that just wasn't equal in this case, and that was what the judge also said in this case with Lydia Mugambe. There was an unequal power dynamic at play in their case, and so there was essentially an abuse of power on the part of the person with the bigger power, and so it ended up against Lydia Mugambe and Senator Ike Kuremadu. But it breaks my heart when things like this happen. It honestly does break my heart. And I do hope that Africans will learn to do better. I do hope that we can learn to treat each other with some dignity and some respect. As opposed to lording ourselves over people because they are, a little less fortunate than we are. But yes, that is the first story that I want to talk about today on the channel. If you've got any thoughts on this, please share with me in the comment section. I would love to hear from you.